for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, now joined by our favorite son, our favorite adopted national media man, coming to us live from Big Bear Lake, the cabin. Absolutely love it. Hello there, Aaron Torres.
Well, this is, as we learned last year, this was my bunker for Purdue fans. Purdue fans were not mad at me around this time of year, or they were not happy with me around this time last year. Also, were not happy with me or wanted to just check in on me after they beat Alabama on Friday night. Mm-hmm. Amazing how few just wanted to make sure that Torres was okay, on Tuesday night after the Marquette loss. But
you probably didn't hear from. Did you hear from them after the Marquette game?
Didn't. I hope everything's okay. I hope everything's okay in West Lafayette. I hope the internet's working okay and their TVs were able to stream the games, because it was amazing how quiet it got in West Lafayette after the game on Tuesday night. I will say this, by the way. People think I hate Purdue. I don't. People think I hate Zach Edey. I don't. They're sort of kind of fun to watch without a 7'4", 320-pound guy in the middle this year. Like Friday night, I know you probably watched a little of it before the Arizona-Wisconsin game. They're moving the ball. They're spacing. There's not a 7'4" dude in the middle that's getting fouled every 30 seconds, even if there's no contact. So they're a little bit of a more fun watch this year, even if they are coming off a little bit of a disappointing loss. So.
Oh, Eric L. Day. Aaron is genuinely the only podcaster who is sassier than Mike. I would take that as a compliment.
No, first of all, that's not true at all.
Yeah, no. Well, either way, take it as a compliment. All right, Torres.
Sheer gets a little sassy sometimes.
Yes, he does. That's very true. All right, Torres, let's talk some college basketball. I assume that you've been watching a little bit of college basketball. First of all, I want to get here's my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. I don't believe they're the best team in the country, but I do believe Duke is the most physically talented team in the country. Sure. Would you agree? Would you disagree?
Yeah, I think so. Physically talented is a funny term, right? Because like Auburn's really physically talented, but it's a different kind of physical. Like Alabama's a really physically talented team, but it's a different kind of physical talent. Duke has the most high upside NBA guys. And the one thing I said this, it's kind of funny, right? Like the Duke Kentucky game is like, it was a great win for Kentucky and Pope's there and everybody's happy again and Calipari's gone and whatever. But what I also think is indisputably true is that for about 39 of the 40 minutes of that game, nobody thought they were going to win. Then Cooper Flagg dribbled it off his leg. Then Cooper Flagg dribbled it off his leg again. Then they threw a baseball pass that wasn't properly defended. And then all of a sudden Kentucky wins and they're the greatest program ever. So I think Kentucky's really good, but I also think that Duke was in control of that game. And so if you look at who that Duke team is, how they're built, Cooper Flagg's really good too. Like, I think that's the other thing is like, I even had Kentucky fans, like, I kind of enjoyed watching that guy play. Like, he's kind of fun to watch. Yeah. And so the Malawatch kid, obviously coming off the Olympics, 7'1", 7'2", super athletic. Con Knipple, that young man there.
They got great names on this team.
You know what's crazy? Are we just going to do the whole thing all year where we hesitate before we say his name? Because like I was right there. I was like, am I going to do the hesitation? And I know like you'll be doing the post game on Friday. You'll be like Con Knipple, and then
Con Knipple. Knipple. I actually practiced it before the show today. Con Knipple and Kaman Mulawach. So again, I
believe it's Malawatch, but it's
Malawatch. Okay. Well, I actually watched a video. I thought it was as well. I watched a video where he pronounced it differently. So, I mean, maybe it's depending on different days. It's, either way. We will go with, come on. How about that? Okay. We will meet in the middle. Come on.
Okay.
Come on, Torres. Come on. It's come on.
Okay.
All right. Good. Cooper Flagg, let's talk about this. This is the match. That's an interesting stat.
By the way, really quick, it's mid-October, or it's mid-November, late November. Have you just given up talking Arizona football? And I don't want to do like, I know you yell and scream about it, but it's like usually even last year, like when I came on before the Purdue game, like we did 20 minutes on Arizona football. Now, admittedly, they were trending towards a 10-win season, but like you just jumped right over it. You're like, I don't want any of your Fafita takes. I actually don't really have any. I kind of stopped watching them about week 5. So I hate to say that. But and I'm sure most of your audience did as well. So anyway, back to basketball. But it is
a basketball school here. If you want to give us a good football team, we'll talk about it. But
that's what I was going to say. Was like last year, even in previous years when Arizona hasn't been good, we've done the obligatory like 15 minutes football before we get into the deep dive on basketball. And today it was just like we're not even talking about it.
I got one for you here. Arizona's got the best wide receiver in the country, and he's a top 5 pick. T-Mac, Tedero and McMillan. That is where we spike the football. And we break other football teams. After they play us, they're never the same, Torres. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I think I know where this came from, but where is all this girth conversation coming from on your social media feed?
Girth. Yes. Well, first of all, I didn't know that it's actually came organically. First of all, I didn't know that there's another term that the kids use for it. I was just talking about how this is a girthier team, and then Sheer looked at me like, "Whoa, did you just say that?" And then I looked.
Can't talk about girth and con in the same sentence. Be careful.
Absolutely. Oh, there's going to be
FCC will come down on you. So
there's going to be a lot of girth in this game. There's actually a lot of girth in this game, but that's just kind of how it came about. It was so now it's the girth gang, the UofA big men up front, girth gang.
The girth gang.
That's what we go with, Torres. Now let me ask you this, Kevin Thomas, if you have that Cooper Flagg, or if you have this, I've never seen something quite like this. Cooper Flagg leads the Blue Devils, and tell me if you've seen this before, in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And honestly, I'm not sure that that's not sustainable for the entire season.
Yeah, and that's one thing I would say, and I said this kind of in the lead up to the Kentucky game, is I think whenever we hear about these like one and done generational players, best player since this guy, like we always assume it's the guy that can just get 30 points a night, like even, and I'm talking about in college, like Kevin Durant, John Wall, whoever, Zion Williamson. And that's just not who Cooper Flagg is. And I actually heard this comp a few weeks ago, and I actually loved it. Is he, I think it was Adam Finkelstein from 24/7 said he reminds him of Andrei Kirilenko. Okay. So not sure if you remember that name, but I remember.
Yeah, AK-47. Get out of here, man. Utah Jazz. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and it's funny because back in college, I used to play fantasy basketball. Okay. Fantasy NBA, not fantasy football. But I bring it up because he was always like a top 3 pick, because it's like, okay, you can get LeBron, but then after LeBron, it's like, well, I mean, Kirilenko will get you rebounds, assists, steals, and he's 6'10", will get you whatever. And so that's what I think is interesting to watch, like America kind of get to know Cooper Flagg, is that he isn't just put the ball in his hands and he's going to score 12 straight points or whatever. He gets others involved. And I think that's what makes him dangerous, is that he can be the cliche best player on the floor, when he's only got 8 points or 10 points, or, he can finish a game with 9 points and he's still the best player. So I'll be honest, I didn't even know that stat. Now that you're saying it, I'm not totally surprised by it. I don't know if it's actually sustainable over the course of the season, but that's the kind of player that he always has been. And that's the kind of player he's going to be at Duke and obviously going forward in this program.
He's a fascinating player, and we're going to get to who covers him for Arizona and how to guard him, because I don't like those options. But the one thing about him, though, that I think is fascinating too, is his shot blocking prowess. Is that you generally don't see a white guy that is considered an awesome shot blocker. And I think it was Finkelstein that said that he is the best weak side shot blocker that he's ever scouted. And I thought that was something interesting. But he's kind of that jack of all trades. I mean, he's just a really good basketball player. He's also a very safe, I think, NBA pick. Because worst case scenario, he's going to be like a really, really good player. Best case scenario is all NBA. I mean, it's
again, the first overall NBA pick kind of falls in line with the generational high school prospect label, is that you expect him to be, like first pick overall. Well, that means one day he'll get you 28 a game. And it's like, not really who he is, and probably not who he'll ever be in the NBA. You think about the great young players in the league, Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards, whoever, they could get you 30, 40 in a game. And I don't think that he will retire from the NBA without ever scoring 30 in a game or 40 in a game, but that's just not the kind of player he is. But to your point, he is a really safe bet. I think the other thing, and I know this isn't like an NBA draft podcast, but so many of these guys are like based on upside and intangibles. And even like I've watched VJ Edge come a couple times from Baylor, like fun player, 6'5", and you see like, if it all comes together and if he puts this and he puts that, and he does this, and it's like, yeah, he could be Anthony Edwards or whoever, but it's like, but if he doesn't, then he'll just be another super
Ricky
athletic.
Davis.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah. That I wasn't even ready for the Ricky Davis. I was just going to say, he's just another. super athletic dude in the NBA, and they got a lot of
they can put up some points, but that's it. All right, now here's what I think I would do with because Arizona doesn't have a lot of great options for Cooper Flagg, but here's what I would go with. I would go with either Trey Townsend, or I would go with Tobe Awaka, the man of girth, but I would have him get physical, and that's why I would have him be very physical with him, because as much as I like KJ Lewis,
I was going to ask. KJ would be my natural. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem, though, let me ask you this, because I had a feeling you'd go there. We're both big KJ Lewis fans on this show.
What did Shear think of him as a high school player? I forget.
Oh, dude, that was one of the worst evals ever. He had him as a fringe top 100 player. And it was funny, during media day, I kept trying to get him to talk mess about Shear, and he wouldn't do it. All he would do is call out Paul Biancardi. And I'm like, no, I said, call out Shear instead. But let me ask you this, though. If at some point, though, because KJ is like 6'4", Cooper Flagg's like 6'9". Sure. What do you think about that matchup? Because I figured you would go there, and you're a smarter man than me. So break it down.
I kind of like the Awaka thing. I kind of do. My question for you, I mean, I've watched him play a lot. You've seen him a little bit more in person than probably I have. Can he play in space? Like, if Cooper Flagg's catching the ball at the top of the key and Awaka's guarding him, can he keep his feet in front of him? Because I watched the last Arizona game. There was a lot of foul calls in that one. So
yes. That's the concern, obviously. And the thing about it too is that there's no real great options here. Sure. I guess would be my point, is that, and so yes, I would throw a lot of different players at him. But the one thing about him, though, and you made a great point, and amongst many great points, Aaron Torres.
Already, wow.
Yes, well,
we're like 8 minutes in.
These points can just get in line because it's point after point after point. Yes. But, with Flagg, guys like this, and tell me if I'm wrong, guys like Flagg don't necessarily terrify me, because it's the guys that ones that terrify me are the ones that can go for 40. Flagg is going to have his fingerprints all throughout the box, the stat sheet, but I don't necessarily see him going for 40. That's guys like that don't necessarily scare me as much. Tell me why I'm wrong.
So the guy that scares you is Knipple. So you got to clamp down on Knipple. You got to throw some girth at Knipple. Okay, is that what you're telling me?
Oh, and that's where I would go with KJ Lewis. I would give him that El Paso girth. Okay. And yes, exactly. Yes.
Sounds like a minor league baseball team. The El Paso girth. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Bringing in our middle reliever, Xavier Ramos. But that's where I would go with Knipple. Now, what say you though? Because that's those are the two ones that, and Knipple we'll get to in just a second, but he terrifies me in this.
Well, it's actually interesting, because I had just assumed you were going to go KJ Lewis, and then it does obviously open up, who do you put on Knipple? And so I guess my counter is, now that I've talked it through with you, I actually don't hate your idea, because Thanks. Either way, and I think the other thing too is, like, Knipple, as I've seen him, he's not like a guy that really creates for himself. He's kind of like a catch and shoot guy. And the one thing that can't happen in this game, KJ Lewis can't get in foul trouble, because I don't think there's enough offensive talent around him if he's on the bench, 6 minutes into the game because of foul trouble. So the more that we talk it out, the more that I actually do think you're probably right. Start Awaka on Cooper Flagg. Throw some of that Bronx girth on Cooper Flagg.
Oh, I like it. The Bronx girth. Wow. Yeah. That also, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Bronx tail.
That sounds
Bronx
like
girth.
a G League team. Yeah. Like, Bronny James got called up from the Bronx girth earlier today. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway. So I actually, now that we've talked it out, I actually do like the idea of Awaka on,
I like that.
I'm not going to be able to keep my face straight, by the way, but keep going.
Oh, again, well, just think of something else. Now, Dick Wilson, I disagree with Dick Wilson. You keep bringing this up. All right, Dick Wilson, the great Dick Wilson, says, again, Con 5 for 21 for 8. I don't think he's going to do that. I mean, guys have bad games. He's good.
Well, he had a bad half. He had 14 at the half or something on probably, I think he actually was 5 of 8 to start, and then he got cold down the stretch. Now, the question becomes, does Arizona, Lamont Butler, you guys know him, West Coast kid, played with Keyshawn Johnson at San Diego State.
By the way, victory lap for you on Keyshawn Johnson, my friend. You mentioned him.
Yeah. Lamont was another one. By the way, I actually thought of you this morning, not even just because I was coming on. I saw a quote from Mark Pope this morning after the game where he said, listen, Lamont Butler's an elite scorer. And this is no disrespect to Brian Dutcher. I'm paraphrasing, but Mark Pope was like, listen, I love Dutch. He's one of the great coaches to ever do it. But I think our offensive system highlights his abilities better than theirs does. And it's not a knock on them. They play differently, whatever, blah, blah, blah. The reason I bring it up is because we could have said the same exact thing about Keyshawn Johnson at this time last year. So
right, exactly. Now, let me now you might look at Aaron Torres's background right there and you're like, man, that is
Purdue
a nice
hideout.
background. That
Purdue
guy
bunker.
is cool. You know what? I bet he's also got something that's going to be in a read here in a second.
What's that?
Empire Flooring. Now, listen, you look at Aaron Torres right there. You look at him coming from the witness protection bunker in Big Bear Lake, and you're like, man, that guy probably has Empire Flooring. He does have Empire Flooring. I don't even know if he does, but I can guarantee you he does because he is a smart man, and he is Arizona's favorite national media. We call him, he is one of our own, as is Empire Flooring. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Aaron Torres with Empire Flooring.
I need you to do your reads because I don't need you to get in trouble. I don't think I'm going to be able to keep a straight face for the rest of this episode because I keep thinking of Bronny James getting called from the Bronx Girth. Yeah.
No, seriously, that nobody's watching, so it doesn't matter. I mean, they're watching because of you. They're not watching because of me. So you have fun on with that one.
I'm going to try to keep a straight face, but
also everybody get in here at the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Have you ever been to the Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Aaron Torres?
I've not been, no.
Oh,
I love casinos. I've told you that. That's like my thing. Like some guys golf, some guys ski. I love to sit in a casino and grab a drink and walk around and sit in the sports book and take it all in. So,
all right, everybody in there, get your wave going. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos wave. You see him in the comments. Okay, now Torres, you look like somebody that likes to have a fun and immersive experience. This is true, correct?
Yeah. Oh, always. Yeah.
Gila River Resorts and Casinos, my friend. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Get in there, get the wave. You will thank me later on this one. Okay, now let's get back to some Arizona basketball. Here, one thing that Arizona had last year is that you and I were texting about this a couple weeks ago. Every single year, and I like Tommy Lloyd a great deal, but he's not beyond reproach. How about that? There's always been a couple weenies on the team. Like just guys that you really didn't want probably in a big spot. Kylan Boswell was one of them last year. They've got Jaden Bradley this year. I like Jaden Bradley. I think that Proctor-Jaden Bradley matchup is going to be interesting. Jaden Bradley is a very, very good defender. I've been saying that I don't see why he can't be junior year Jamal Shed. I know, high praise, but
Jaden Bradley Proctor. Jaden Bradley.
Jaden Bradley. That's going to be a fascinating one for me because Proctor is very good. Proctor sounds like whatever. But another guy that doesn't necessarily scare me. I think people look at him and they're like, his high school ranking, he's a better three-point shooter now. But I'm fine with that matchup for Arizona, Bradley and Proctor. Oh, that sounds like a law firm, Bradley and Proctor.
That does, yes.
But yes, what say you on that matchup, Mr. Torres?
Sorry, still thinking about Bronny. Yeah. What do I think of that matchup? So I listen. Tyrese Proctor at this point, he's a better concept than he is a basketball player, right? Like
Agreed.
You said, yeah, he came in as, top 10 prospect, overseas, he reclasses, nobody knows much about him. Oh, he's going to reclass and move up the timetable. And it's like, well, then he wasn't really good as a freshman. Then he wasn't really good last year. He did play well against Kentucky, but I think the way you described him is the way that I would right now. It just doesn't scare me is that I think he's going to contribute. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy that beats you. Like, I don't ever think we're going to like if you and I are doing this show in March and you have another rematch with Duke, it's not going to be like, oh, we're playing Duke in the Elite Eight because Tyrese Proctor went for 36 in the Sweet 16 against UCLA or whatever. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, So go ahead. What were you saying?
You know what he is a little bit to me? He's a different player, but to me, he's kind of like, and again, he's different. He's kind of like DeJuan Harris in that he's good. Sure. He's good. You know what you're going to get. But when you're looking at the game plan, you're not saying, man, I mean, this guy could absolutely destroy us. They're good. They're a good cog, but I've always thought he's more of a DeJuan Harris type guy in that role.
Yeah. And listen, I've never coached, but I've been in scouting meetings like I'm sure you have, and that's exactly how it works for people who don't coach or whatever. It's like, hey, this is the focal point. Cooper Flagg's the guy. This is what we have to do. When Malawach catches it here, make sure we do this. Knipple, don't let him put it, whatever. and you start to get the 4th, 5th, 6th down the list, and that's where Tyrese Proctor is, at least on this team and probably any team that he's going to play for, is that, he's going to get 12, maybe 15.
Right.
Like if he has a great game, like if everything goes right, he'll get 15, and you'll be like, damn, if we held him to 6, we would have been fine, but but it's never going to be like, we have to just account for him getting 12, but he went for 30.
Right, exactly.
And there's a lot of players like that. I mean, listen, that's kind of how Caleb Love is, right? Like the threat of Caleb Love, even though I know he didn't play well against Wisconsin, but the threat of Caleb Love is always going to have your attention. I don't know that any team that Duke plays all year is going to be like, the threat of Tyrese Proctor, like we have to bump him up the scouting report for that exact reason.
Right, exactly. Now, Kevin, if we could bring up the Duke stats, actually, do we have the Duke team stats here? So here, and if not, that's on me. But here's also where it's interesting for me. At that shooting guard position, Arizona, in my opinion, has to be able to, and I've said this offseason, there's going to be games. We have a big enough sample size with Caleb Love that there is going to be very, very high highs. There will be very low lows as well. But the one thing that I always felt that he leaves on the table, and again, guys are streaky shooters. He's a streaky shooter. It just is what he is. I've always said that guy needs to be able to get to the free throw line 6 to 7 times per game because he's a good athlete. He can attack. I think the biggest mistake he makes is just settling there because teams want him to settle. It's not like it's one of these like super unathletic white guys that can never get into the lane or anything. I've always felt that he's limiting himself by not attacking more because I believe that when his shot isn't falling, that's how he should be scoring. What say you, Aaron Torres?
No, I agree. I actually, watching the Wisconsin game, there was one play, I forget when it was, you might know, where it was like sometime in the second half, Arizona's making a run, and he catches the ball on the 3-point in transition, and he shoots it, and it misses, and it goes out of bounds. And you could see him literally on the TV broadcast, just like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And I don't know. Again, I'm not a coach. I don't know if that's something you can ever coach out of somebody. I don't know if at this point it is even possible to coach it out of him. I like that. Leave a like with the Arizona.
Yeah, no, isn't it good? It's good. I didn't come up with that. It was somebody smarter than me.
Well, okay. So it was Sheer. Okay. Or Erica or Ben. Okay. I trust you. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So no, so you may not think you're smart, but you are smart on this one. And I agree 100% is that, it's just, and that's the frustrating part because you're like, dude, because we saw it. Remember the Oregon game last year when he got like 31 points on 18 shots, and you're like, why can't you just do this every single game?
Because, again, you were blessed physically. Again, the thing, generally when I see chuckers, they're one of two things. They're unathletic or they're like 5'11" and they're playing shooting guard. He's neither one of those. So, again, that's the thing that I would like to see rectified there. Now,
let me ask you, just how do you feel in general about the team? Because I have some thoughts after Wisconsin, but I'm just curious your thoughts. And knowing, by the way, Big 12 is a whole new beast. Road venues are going to be crazy. Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, the Wisconsin game was a terrible performance from them. Now, I will say that they deserve to lose that game for sure. I've never seen officiating where it was 22 free throws to 1 like 12 minutes in, but it is what it is.
Just tell me you didn't watch Purdue games last year. Okay, cool.
Oh. Actually, that should have been a tease for you, right?
No, I know. It's okay. No, I know what you're saying. It was a tough watch.
Here's where I'm at with Tommy Lloyd's teams, and this is why I'm more bullish maybe now than I was last year, but I'm bullish every year, so take it for what it's worth. Tommy Lloyd's teams need players that can get buckets off the dribble. Because what's happened is, in the last couple years, you've had teams that they look at it and they're like, these teams are loaded with 38% shooters, but they're kind of fake good shooters, though.
Sure.
In this, that, we love Keyshawn Johnson, and that was a great call by you. But Keyshawn, nobody was ever saying that we have to adjust our game plan because of his three-point shooting. It was just something that, helped out. Same with Pelle Larsson. Pelle Larsson was the guy that could miss a shot. It would get bounced right back to him. He'd be wide open, and then he would pass it. They don't have guys that could. So, again, they were good shooters, but they weren't really ones that, you could really count on. The ones that were able to keep Arizona in games were guys like Jaden Bradley because he can get to the free throw line. He could exert himself. He's just got to make the free throws. But I think that Tommy Lloyd, with the way that he runs stuff, I think he needs players that can get their own buckets. And I think it's been a very, free-flowing offense. But come March, man, the game slows down. You need guys that can be able to score. I'm optimistic on Trey Townsend because of his background, but we got to see it, though, first. What say you, Torres, from your expert view at Big Bear Lake?
My expert view of Big Bear Lake. Well, I will tell you this. I was not in Big Bear Lake, but Monday I was running errands and I did put you and Sheer on for half a second. And
Nice.
great stuff as always. But Sheer said, and I, it was something that stood out to me watching, is that I know Sheer is like, you just got to play Carter Bryant. And like, that's one thing. And that's really, I think, a Mark Few thing, which is Mark Few. And obviously I think everybody knows Tommy kind of came up under Mark Few. And I think we all are, to a degree, like whoever our mentors are, like we take after them, so Tommy's going to coach the way that Mark Few did. And like Few is just, I got my 7 guys, whoever they are, they're playing and they're rocking. Okay. Right. And what I will say, a guy that is not, very popular right now in college basketball circles, Calipari, like one thing I always give him credit for, and it hasn't been as good the last couple of years, although never forget, whatever, we don't need to do the Calipari rant here. But the reason I bring it up, he says, these are my guys and I have to play them and I have to be willing to take the lumps with them early for the payoff late. And you can argue that it doesn't work. Kentucky finished second in the SEC last year. They beat Tennessee on the final day of the regular season. And it was because early in the season, Reed Sheppard struggling, Rob Dillingham struggling. And so to bring it full circle to Tommy, that's he's just, if Carter Bryant isn't ready, and this is no disrespect, it's just the way his process is if you're not ready to play right now, I can't put you out there. You got to earn the minutes. I can't put you out there over a Trey Townsend, who's a 5th, 6th year guy, who's been through the wars, whatever. And so the only thing I'm going to say is like if Carter Bryant can get through the lumps right now, then imagine what he's going to be by mid-January, late January, mid-February, late February, when the games really matter. And I'll be honest, like I like Trey Townsend, but and listen, I don't think Carter Bryant's like, well, if you play him now, he'll get you 20 a night every single night by February. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, like, let me ask you, like, and I think this probably is the Trey Townsend answer, but like, I don't think Jaden Bradley, Caleb Love, and KJ Lewis are enough to consistently every single night. And I guess Krivas has been banged up, but like, you need another guy. And I think Townsend could potentially be that guy, but I also think Carter Bryant could potentially be that guy. And I think that was the one thing that stood out. I know I'm going long, but watching the Wisconsin game is last year, you were able to bring KJ and Jaden Lewis off the bench and you didn't miss a beat. I don't know right now if those guys exist, but obviously I know that's what you hope Carter Bryant is going to be here down the road.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on Carter. This is one of those things, if you don't start him, that's fine, but you got to fast track those minutes. And it's no offense, but a guy like an Anthony Del Orso, he does not have that potential 3 months down the line that Carter Bryant does. Carter Bryant was he was a 5-star kid from the time he was about 14 years old. I mean, and you can tell by watching him, he's young, but you can tell that there's a lot to work with there. He is the kind of player, though, like you said, that you're a freshman to start, but if you fast track him like Calipari does, you're hoping that he's basically a sophomore by the end of the season then.
Correct.
And that's exactly what I think you have to go with too, because at the end of the day too, talent does matter. No matter how raw it is or unrefined, talent does matter. And that's why, like, you look at somebody like your guy, Danny Hurley. He and Bill Self, I've always felt, are the masters. Well, Hurley now, but are the masters, though, of being able to mold talented NBA players with guys that probably will never sniff the NBA, but are perfect for their role that they have. And that's where you've got to have a combination of both, in my opinion. You can't just have all one or all the other. And I think that's something that Hurley and Bill Self, I think, have done very, very well over the years.
Yeah, I'll just say really quick. First of all, I think Hurley's greatest gift is a lot of his best players were not projected as NBA players, and he saw something and he got it out of them. But your point, I always say this is like, we go into every time everybody fills out a bracket. Well, what really matters in March? Is it guard play? Is it coaching? It's like the number one thing. You have to have 2 to 3 to 4 NBA guys. You just do.
Yeah.
And I remember being at the Final Four last year. And the 2 games, for people forget, it was Purdue, North Carolina State in the early game, and it was UConn, Alabama in the second game. Right. And you could just see the second the Alabama UConn game started, the speed and size difference.
So much different.
It was so much different. It obviously, except Edie, but I remember the night of the championship, the night of the semifinals. I'll just tell the whole true story. I went to a UConn alumni event post game. I was like, season's over. I was like, that team cannot beat us. And people were like, Torres, don't be overconfident. And I said on my show that night, live from the stadium, I said, UConn's going to win. I think I picked them to win by 14 and they won by 15, or I picked them to win by 15 and they won by 4. I literally said, you can find the quote, you can find the tweet. I said, Edie will get his. And I said, there are 3 guards who are Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Lance Jones.
Not good enough.
I said, they're going to get under 20 points. I said, because every spot on the floor, UConn is bigger, stronger. Some might say girthier. And they had just as much speed and athleticism. I said, they're not going to be able to score. And so the only point I'm trying to make is I agree with you 100%. We could talk about veteran this and guard play that, and this coach did this 5 years. No. Do you have dudes or not? Now, the good thing for an Arizona fan listening is more years than not, Tommy Lloyd is going to have those caliber of players.
Yeah. Now, I want to get to something about that UConn comparison here a second. Then I want to trip around college basketball and kind of get to Torres's takes. Torres's takes. That's another thing for when you come on next time. Maybe Torres takes. But first, NUTRL. Have you ever had a NUTRL, Aaron Torres? You're one of the cool kids.
I might have some in this cup right here.
Oh, that's what
might be NUTRL.
That's what we like there. Again, he's probably got his NUTRLs backed away back in the Big Bear Lake resort that he's got. NUTRL. But all right, check it out. Either way, keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch NUTRL flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. Again, who's the best player in the NBA from St. Louis off the top of your head?
Bradley Beal. No, I'm kidding. It's Jason Tatum. But Bradley Beal is from St. Louis as well.
Caleb Love is from St. Louis as well. But either way, check it out. NUTRL, like I said, keep it tasty.
Here's
enjoy
a question
responsibly.
For you. Do you think Caleb Love? Sorry. Finish your read. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Already right.
Do you think there will ever be a moment in time where Caleb Love is the best player in the NBA from St. Louis?
Caleb Love?
It would imply that he makes the NBA, that he stays in the NBA, and that he stays longer than Jason Tatum.
Absolutely not. No, there's no chance.
I was going to say like 5%, like maybe Jason Tatum retires at like 28.
But there's going to be somebody else that's going to come up that's going to be better. I put that at no chance. That's Torres being silly. Also, branded bills. All right, now, you might say branded bills. These things are fantastic. They are fantastic. Check out branded bills. All right, the great thing about branded bills is that you can get them. A lot of people have branded bills. And you know what? It's because they are cool. Head to brandedbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Branded Bills, they customize stuff. They make stuff for you. Branded Bills. Heck, if you're going to the Final Four this year and you want a hat, you might say to yourself, man, Branded Bills would look really, really good on me. Check it out, Branded Bills. Okay, let me ask you this, and then we're going to go around the country a little bit. Okay. Who would win? Either one of these past 2 years UConn's teams or those Florida teams. Because to me, since 2000, those are the 2 best teams in college basketball, and I don't even think it's close. Or those are the best?
No. It's a great question. I just had never really considered it. I think what's kind of crazy to me is somebody who's been alive for basically the entire like glory run of UConn. Like there was never... 1990 was the first year they were really great under Calhoun, so that's a little before my time. But there's been so many debates about like who's the best UConn team of all time until last year, and then it was like, no, there's no debate. That's right. The best UConn team that's ever existed. What's funny is, and I'll be quick here because I know we want to get to some other stuff, but what's funny is people forget 2 years ago. They were a 4 seed in that tournament. Now, that was a little bit of a bogus 4 seed because they basically got to number 2 in the country in December. They had basically like one bad 3-week stretch in January where I think they went 1-5 or something like that. And so whatever. Right. The point I'm trying to make is that, and that's kind of the reflective of the Florida team, was the Florida team was like a 3 seed that didn't really peak until March of 2006. And then in 2007, they brought back everybody and won the championship. UConn didn't obviously bring back everybody, but the second team was as good as the first team. What I would say, and so now that I've given you 2 minutes of background, I would give the advantage to the UConn team because no one had any answer for Klingon last year. And it's funny, I'll plug my show a little bit, is Hassan Diarra, who was the Big East sixth man of the year. He joined me every week on my show for an NIL kind of deal. And I only bring it up because all year long, he was like, Donovan's the most impactful player in the country. And I'm not saying that I didn't know his impact, but I don't think I realized how big it was. And then the Illinois Elite Eight game, that was the game where UConn went on the 30-0 run in the Elite Eight. And he had like 7 blocks. And it was just every time they went to the rim. And Terrence Shannon Jr. is playing in the NBA. Like Coleman Hawkins, make fun of him, whatever. He's one of the 10 best players probably in college basketball, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is like these are NBA dudes and they're just going at the rim and he's blocking them. By the way, Clingan had like a 17, 13, and 8 night a few nights ago for the Portland Trailblazers. So I could go on, but I don't think you can teach 7'2" size, athleticism, footwork, all of that. By the way, a completely unrelated take. It's why it was blasphemous that anyone other than Donovan Clingan was the #1 pick in last year's draft. But that's an Atlanta Hawks problem. That's not a Torres
that's definitely
problem.
an Atlanta Hawks problem.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, congrats on Zachary Richechet. But
yes, exactly. But the only thing I would combat you with a little bit is if there has ever been a big man duo it would be Joakim Noah and Al Horford. That's where it's fascinating. That
would be the counter argument because UConn didn't really have a second big guy last year. By the way, I'm trying to look up Zachary Richechet's stats, but I can't find him.
I saw him. No, that's a big. That Donovan Clingan is the man. Donovan Clingan is that. That's to me has always been the imaginary matchup that I would have loved to have seen those two Florida teams versus those UConn teams.
Well, and what I would say two things really quick on UConn because I know we got other stuff to talk about. But one, by the way, Richechet, he's averaging 12 points per game. Okay, all right, okay.
Clingan's better. Clingan's better.
Oh,
though.
No doubt. The two things on UConn.
Stephon Castle, by the way, I watched him last night with the Spurs. He's going to be a good one. I really like him.
LeBron said something like that. There was some crazy stat about Castle where it was like through his first like 6 games, he had guarded like 22 different players for 5 minutes or more, and none of them had more than 1 basket made or something crazy. It was some crazy stat like that. But what I would say about the UConn thing is 2 things about last year's UConn team. They were essentially the perfectly constructed team. It was everybody served a purpose, everybody had a role, and everybody bought into the role. And they only had like 7 dudes. And it was like, I mentioned Hassan Diarra was like he was the best 6th man that you could ask for. Came off the bench, got you 8-9 points a game, whatever. Cam Spencer, 3-point shooter, Steph Castle, wing defender, Donovan Clingan, paint defender, Tristan New. So 1, they were like the perfectly constructed team. And then 2, they were really weird, Mike, because this is the only time that I can remember seeing this. Clingan got hurt in like December, maybe mid-December, and missed probably about 3 weeks. And so he was actually fresher as the season, like every team, you just wear down by the end of the year. And he was actually pretty fresh and got better as the tournament went on and better as the Big East tournament went on. And it was this weird thing where your best player, your most important player is also totally fresh at the end of the year, which never happens. And so anyway, I don't know who would win what, but all I know is that was about the most perfectly constructed roster that we've ever seen, at least in recent college basketball history.
All right, let's go around the Big 12 here a little bit. But first, Alabama was your preseason #1, correct?
They were, but Houston was my preseason title pick, and I do regret it already.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the Big 12 for a second here.
Sure.
This is going to be something very fascinating for Arizona and I think it's going to be very good for Tommy Lloyd, honestly, because I think Tommy Lloyd's a really good guy. And I think that can lead to teams just kind of sleepwalking. And let's be honest. I mean, when you're playing a team like Stanford and there's 18 people in attendance and you're going to win the conference, it doesn't really matter. I mean, forget the big dogs for a second. Forget Kansas, forget Houston, those schools. If you go into a place like Cincinnati and you just go through the process, you could end up losing by 25, 30 points. Yep. I mean, same thing with Texas Tech. You could end up getting embarrassed. That is the first thing that I look at and I say, this is going to be something where armor sharpens armor instead of steel sharpens steel, whatever that term is.
I think it's iron sharpens iron. But
iron sharpens iron or armor sharpens armor. But no, that's the first thing that I look at. And Arizona's going to take some lumps, but I think it's also going to make them a much tougher team come the time that it really matters, Torres.
They're going to have to be because
they're going to have to be. Yeah.
Yeah. No. And you and I remember talking about this the last time I was on before basketball even started that has been, I don't think a criticism of Tommy Lloyd from my perspective. It's just a reality is usually, and we just talked about it with UConn, usually you kind of take your lumps in November, December, you have some highs, some lows, you're trying to figure yourself out. And then you peak in conference play. Arizona last 2 years, there's no doubt peaked in November and December.
Yeah.
Peaked in Maui 2 years ago, win Maui. Peaked last year, beating Duke at Duke. And, whatever. We don't have to go through. But then you get to league play and you lose at Oregon State. You get to league play and you lose at Arizona or Stanford. And so you can't do that. And I'll tell you, and I think I told you this last time, but I did tell you this because you'll understand the reference. But for people who didn't listen to me last time, I remember talking to Jamie Dixon the summer after they almost beat Arizona in the NCAA tournament. We all remember that game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, at TCU. And I said to him, that was a great game. Could have gone either way. Unbelievable game, by the way. I don't know if you were there, but that's like an all-time tournament.
I was at that game. That was actually a really cool moment because Tommy Lloyd looked at Ben Mathurin and said, "Just go," when he made that three. But either way, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but I remember talking to Dixon. I said, "Look, dude, Arizona was as good as anybody. You guys end up winning. Did you know at any point that you were that good and capable of winning a game like that?" And what he said to me, and I always think about it, and I think about it with Arizona a lot right now, is he said, "Look, in the Big 12, there's just too many good teams, and you're never, even when you're playing well, you're never going to have a 7-game stretch where you go 7-0 and you just destroy everybody." Right. He said, You might not ever have a 7-game stretch maybe he's talking about TCU specifically, but you're not even going to have a stretch where you probably go 5-2. Like, you're just going to lose games in that league because there's so many good teams. To your point, there's so many good venues. That is also what worries me about Arizona, is that, like you said, I don't have the schedule in front of me. I don't know what road venues you go to, but Kansas State, even when they're struggling, is a tough place to play. I know LSU just beat them a few days ago, but that's a really tough place to play. Right. They call it the Octagon of Doom. Okay. They don't call anything of doom if it's not a tough place to play.
Stanford was not called the Octagon of Doom.
Yes. No. Corvallis has never been known as the Octagon of Doom. Yeah. And so, listen, you know what I'm trying to say is whether
you got Iowa State, you got Kansas, you got Houston. I mean, these are brutal venues to go into. I mean, that's something that you got to keep it. Now, let's talk about Kansas here for a second. They were my preseason number one. I'm going out on a limb and actually picking the preseason number one team as my number one team. Kansas to me, I think, is the most well-rounded team in the Big 12. But I will say the talent on the team, while good, does not jump off the page at you. It's kind of like what we talked about before with the whole NBA thing. Hunter Dickinson's not an NBA player. He could be in college for 30 years and not be an NBA player. Or if he is, he's like a 12th guy. KJ Adams, not an NBA dude. I don't know that I look at Zeke Mayo and say that, or Rylan
Store is the one that if it clicks.
Store is the one for sure. DeJuan Harris, though, not. But it's a roster where everything kind of fits. Where I guess my question is, I don't know that you have a top end. Like, losing McCullough was massive for them because, I mean, he was that dude on the perimeter. Was that guy? I think they're very good, but they don't terrify me as I guess if they had like that real superstar on the perimeter. What say you?
Well, I think AJ Store averaged 17 a game in the Big 10 last year. So he can be that guy. He just hasn't been.
Right.
And I don't know if it's him and Bill Self aren't vibing thing. I don't know if, listen, I mean, he was kind of the dude at Wisconsin and he comes in and he's got to fall in line. I don't know what's going on there. The one thing that it looks like to me is, listen, I'll just say it, like, Bill Self wasn't secretive about, hey, we started projecting out we started building for next year a month ago after last season ended. He said it after they lost in the tournament to Gonzaga. We started preparing for next season a month ago. Right. We all know this is an NIL world. We understand these kids are getting paid. Okay. What they look like is a bunch of highly paid dudes that haven't totally figured it out. Maybe they won't. I think they will because Bill Self is a really good coach. But they just look like a bunch of dudes that are kind of used to doing their own thing. And some guys are bought in and some guys aren't, and some guys have been there and some guys haven't. But I do think that let me put it this way, is Alabama was my preseason number one. For some reason I picked Houston, which was just stupid, but Kansas, I still think they do have that kind of upper end talent. Now, what's interesting, I don't think the guys that were there last year, which is probably part of the reason they're still there, the guys that you mentioned are the NBA guys. They are who they are. Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, DeJuan Harris. What's going to make the difference? Does AJ Store become the type of player that we think he can be? Does Zeke Mayo, by the way, is he a sixth man? Is he the Tyrese
that's the one that surprises me. I guess I thought that he was going to be kind of the sixth man and AJ Storr was going to be that dude.
No, I did too. And I don't know if it's just Bill Self playing hardball with AJ Storr or what, but yeah, I don't think Zeke Mayo being, I think the comp from earlier in the show for people who've been with us from the beginning is probably Tyrese Proctor. He should be there, Tyrese Proctor, where this is Zeke Mayo I'm talking about, where he's never number 1, 2 on the scouting report, but you just count on him for 12 to 15. And if you get the 12 to 15, you're going to win every game you play. And so I don't think that they're anything close to what they will be. You can see the talent. They aren't there yet. But yeah, no, listen, the first half against UNC, they looked so good. And then the Michigan State game was like unwatchable. The second half against Carolina was whatever. But I still think they have the chance to get there, but I just don't think they're there yet. And I think that tends to happen when, again, you have 3 or 4 guys coming in that are expecting to play big minutes, expecting this, but also you got the 3 to 4 guys that have been there before, and you're trying to mesh all them together.
All right, Torres, I know you got to get out here. You got big boy stuff to do, but first, where can they find you? Also, give us an Arizona Duke prediction, my friend.
Okay. Find me on Twitter at Aaron_Torres. Find me on the Aaron Torres podcast. Probably talking a little college football today. Everybody was so worked up about Indiana last night. Hey, listen, I got to go, but 20 seconds. Indiana, if they get smoked by Ohio State and everything plays out like we think it will, like there's no, Texas loses to Kentucky this weekend. Right. Should Indiana be left out of the college football playoff at 11-1 in the Big Ten?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that was the big conversation last night. Oh, they haven't played anybody and they stink. And it's like, it's SEC bias and it's big brand bias. If Michigan had the exact same resume,
there wouldn't even be a question.
Exactly. So
there.
Anyway, so yeah, we'll talk about a little bit about that. And then probably on my Thursday show, we'll preview Duke, Kentucky, Duke, Arizona. I'm on an Arizona show. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the tournaments next week. But my prediction, and I'm not saying it because I am on an Arizona show.
You're back in the A. I know you're back in the A.
Well, here's the thing. Arizona goes to Wisconsin, loses. Alabama goes to Purdue, loses. North Carolina goes to Kansas, loses. It's really hard to beat really good teams in home venues, especially young teams that have not played in a true road environment. I know you could say, it was mostly Kentucky fans in Atlanta. It's not the same. It's not the same as walking into McHale Center and seeing, you think Cooper Flagg has ever walked into any arena and made eye contact with Mike Luke? Because I don't think he has. Maybe he has. I don't know if you're following
I doubt
him around,
it. I don't think so, my friend.
But I do think it is very hard to walk into an opposing arena for the first. And by the way, it's not like Arizona doesn't have good players. It's not like they're playing, again, Stanford or Wake Forest or whoever. Like, this is a great arena. It's going to be loud. I can't wait to watch. But yeah, so that's it.
Okay. All right. Aaron Torres, very much appreciate you, my guy. We will have you back on again soon. Follow him. He's the man. Again, Tucson's favorite son that made good, even though he's not from Tucson. We consider you one of ours, Aaron Torres.
All right. Good luck to Bronny James as he gets recalled from the Bronx Girth.
From Bronx Girth, baby. Yes, exactly. Appreciate you, Torres. Oh, now let's see here. Oh, and now we've got somebody else ready to hop in here. The great Jacob Franklin. Hello, Jacob. Oh, you've got the same. Are you in the same place that Torres is?
Yeah, he left the seat and I sat down in it. It's a really convenient screen right here, isn't it?
Oh, no, it looks fantastic, though. No, that's great. Oh, the great Jacob Franklin in here. Now, I don't want to get in trouble. We've got to get these reads in before the 50-minute mark. So first, let's talk some Circle K, baby. Let's talk some Circle K. Now, you live in Gilbert. The fam lives in Mesa. Where is your go-to Circle K, my friend? Where is it? Talk to me.
Well, so I've got one right outside of my neighborhood. There's one at Cooper and Warner that it's just easy to hit that one on the way to the freeway. Nice. Anybody who's been to like Gilbert. So I live just south of downtown Gilbert, pretty much. Anybody that's been in this area knows that going through downtown Gilbert is never the quickest way to get to the freeway because you hit a ton of traffic on a one-lane road. So you shoot up to Cooper, which is just a mile west.
Cooper Flagg.
And, sure. I mean, you're going to play him this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch. But
hopefully we don't lose by 57.
Hey man, what's in the past is in the past. They learned. Clearly, they learned.
Oh, yeah, all right. But either way, be like not Aaron Torres. Well, be like Aaron Torres and Jacob Franklin, the great Jacob Franklin. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. P-Hoff, we're going to get to that question in just a second. Also, PHNX events. Now, you might say, Mike Luke, is that guy really the way that he appears on in person?
This
is your... Yes, but this is absolutely your time to come see me there. And the lovely Erica L. Day will be in there as well, making things happen, making me look cooler than I should. Check it out, though. November 30th, the Bourbon Bent. I think the little guy, I think Totree's going to be there if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, look at that.
Yeah, like it. Yes, Eric Ruby, perhaps, Eric L. Ruby. But either way, Jacob L. Franklin, will you be there?
Probably not.
All right. Well, either way, maybe that's a good thing, because if he came, we would just do the chicken and pickle thing and pull the seat out from under him. All right. Now, let's see here. Now, Palmer Hoffman, yes. Hey, Mike, is there a show tomorrow? If not, whose fault is it? You're looking right at him. You are looking right at him.
That would be me. Yes, it is my fault.
It is your fault. Now, Jacob Franklin, we need to have a weekly disclaimer basically made up, maybe like a graphic, like making fun of you for there being no show on Thursday, because it is your fault, Jacob Franklin.
I mean, you could probably get it made.
Yes. All right. Well, no. Hey, Kevin Thomas, that would be great. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about Arizona ASU and then Arizona breaking teams. I think the first thing that we need to talk about is how Arizona has broken. Franklin Fridays. That's great. We need to talk about how Arizona has broken so many football teams and leaves their carcass out for other people to pick up. You saw it last week against TCU. I mean, not TCU, Kansas State. Kansas State was never the same after they played Arizona.
You know who actually broke Kansas State, and it kind of hurts me?
Arizona.
Colorado.
No. They were never the same. No.
They were never the same after Avery Johnson ran back and got some weird shot in his side because now he can't run.
No, but we played them and we played them and we wore them out. We wore them out and they just were never kind of Damon. That was funny. I lied. That made me laugh. But we wore them out. So you want to thank us to a certain extent for what happened last Saturday. This is true.
Yeah, I mean, they gave me a little bit of a scare there late in the second half, but I mean, it's 24-0 on the road in a territory that a lot of people were like, oh, there's no way that ASU is going to go in there and win that game.
Right. Yes.
I
okay.
know. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive.
Yes. Now, no. Cade says this might be Mr. Mike Luke's wildest take so far. It's true. Everybody knows it. And when you beat, now listen, this is a huge game for you. You've got divided loyalties here. Arizona, BYU.
You're no better than the ESPN people. You just called us Arizona.
Arizona State, BYU.
Mike.
I think I did. I'm sorry. I've just been looking at my hat the whole time. But either way, Arizona State, BYU, where this is a grudge match for you. How, obviously you've got the BYU factor for you and your fam and ASU. How are you? Who are you rooting for in this game?
Most definitely Kenny Dillingham and the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Okay. All right. Now, Arizona TCU. Let's talk about the game that is basically captivating the nation's attention at this point. Arizona.
From what I heard, game day actually is considering rethinking Indiana, Ohio State, and making their way out.
Because because the rumor about how Arizona's breaking teams has gotten out there, and it is it is a big thing. It is a big thing. Now, Arizona TCU. Let me ask you this, because I've had a few ASU fans message me this, and it's kind of an interesting question. Are you rooting for Brent Brennan to do well enough to stick around?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I it took me aback for a second, but then I realized I think we actually have some ASU fans on board here. Beat TCU and then get annihilated by ASU, but not by too much. Are you in that? Realm?
I want you guys to lose, but by a touchdown or something.
No, you want Arizona to beat TCU and then lose to ASU.
Yeah. I mean, that's just. I mean, but yes. The thing is, they can't lose by too much to TCU.
Yes, exactly. So you don't want a Central Florida 56-12 performance?
No, but that's pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
Oh, by the way, something you and Sheer and I have been talking about this all week. And by the way, Dennis Walsh, the great Dennis Walsh says, does ASU owe Mike everything for that double del? Honestly, we might have somebody coming on next week that we can ask about this. But the double del, there are no hints. The double del, that was big. That was
Mike,
big.
Would you DoorDash me a double del right now?
No, but Erica L. Day already did. Remember, she got you
a. I want one now.
Yeah, but no, I don't make the money that you do. You're high up in the company now, dude.
No,
you are. You're high up in the company. I don't make the money you do. You DoorDash it to yourself.
I work for the love of the game, Mike. Love of the game.
Right now, I want to keep listening to the show. It's just UofA Sports been sad lately. Yeah, but hey, Adventures of Fluffy. This is what we sign up for. We have to keep the smile even during the negative times.
Season. It's gonna be great.
Yes, it's basketball season. Come on, turn that frown upside down. Anyways, back to Arizona though for a second. You do realize that Arizona and ASU's coaching staffs are in very similar situations.
Explain.
Well, I don't think that either one of our fan bases needs to worry about the head coach leaving for a bigger, more prominent job.
Yeah, no, I agree. Unless, the NFL comes calling for Kenny Dillingham.
Yeah, but I'm saying in college, though. I think we're kind of in the same boat. Isn't that fair?
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. And that's, more beneficial to us than anything. But what I will say is that it seems like, and we've talked about this before, Kenny Dillingham, like this doesn't feel like the ASU teams that have shown promise in the past. There seems like an actual foundational, like Todd Graham's teams, they were really good. But
Todd Graham was a putz, though.
What was the one calling card for Todd Graham's teams that always held them back?
Penalties.
Bingo. Guess what this team doesn't do?
Yeah, no, exactly. And were you able to watch? Were you alive when Dirk Cooter was there? Were you able to remember any of those games?
I mean,
no, I don't think you really remember the Cooter era. But
early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
I would have been like maybe 8 or 9.
All right, now something I don't know if you've seen what we're doing this week. We're going to do this with you now, Jacob Franklin. The no hedge with Sheer we're doing because you produced enough shows to know that Sheer is the king of the hedge. Sheer is a sheer hedge. I would not be surprised if he is fired, but if he is retained, then I think that makes perfect sense as well. So we will not have any of that here. But first, Mr. Tyler McDowell. Oh, hey, ML Power Rankings. Rex Scott, Rex Scott, congratulations on the win. He was my 6th grade English teacher. Victor Yates, I like Victor Yates, and Steve Botkin, the great Steve Botkin, a great basketball coach at Saguaro. Okay, now, let me ask you this, Jacob Franklin. All right, let's see. I'm just winging this one. Well, heck, that's my life. All right, now when it comes to Arizona State, are they going to win out? And what worries you most about Arizona when they come to Arizona Stadium, obviously nursing that losing streak against Arizona? What worries you the most about Arizona?
I feel like this, and I just said this 3 minutes ago. This is a different ASU team than we've seen be good in the past. Right.
Okay.
This is definitely one of those teams that it feels easier to not fall into the trap of like, oh, we're probably going to lose now that we're ranked. That was kind of the commonality for a long time. It was like, oh, we're ranked, which means we're probably going to lose our next game.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Oh, by the way, I got to answer the question. Mr. Tyler McDowell Blanken, great name. ML Power Ranking, Rex Scott, definitely number 1. Okay. Now, you're picking Arizona to beat ASU. Why? No. Now, again, you're going out on a limb here. Why is that?
It's not true. You do nothing but spread lies about me.
Oh, by the way, we're going to be carrying this over for all of you listening. Go on over to PHNXsports.com.
Go PHNX.com, Mike. Come on now.
Go PHNX.com. Either way, come on, dude. That was good. Either way, that's why I had the great Jacob Franklin right here. We don't need to take a pause though or anything. Okay, now Dennis Walsh. This is exactly right. I've been saying this from day one. This is what Arizona needs to do. We need to target T-Mac 900 times. Seriously, every single throw, just throw it deep to T-Mac. That's what I would do.
I mean, he did have almost 300. Did he have over 300 yards last year?
It was like 280 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just keep throwing it to him. Just keep throwing it to him every single time.
I mean, like, not to say that you can, like, T-Mac is, in my opinion, the best or second best wide receiver in the country.
And wait a second. I've had a couple ASU fans tell me that Jordan Tyson is better. You do not go this far. This is true.
No, Jordan Tyson's really good.
Right.
He's not better than T-Mac.
Yes, exactly. Can you believe that the man that your apprentice did not know who he was?
Let it go, Mike.
No, I won't let it go. Do you check in? Hey, let me ask you this, Jacob Franklin. Now, oh, by the way, take that fake background off. Let's see that pigsty you've got in the background. How many you got? Is your child right behind you?
No, my child's at daycare.
Oh, okay. Now, let's see here. But I was going to say, all right. Now, Arizona basketball. When Arizona basketball plays Arizona State, Jacob Franklin, you have been talking a lot. Yeah, all over the place. You have been talking a lot of mess lately.
About what? You need to start a My Bad Joson movement, though.
No, I don't need to start a My Bad Joson movement. I never said he wasn't good. I said his agent was a putz.
You said he was going to cause problems. He hasn't caused
any problems. His agent's already tweeting at me. He's causing problems. I win.
He's not causing problems for us.
Oh, he's causing problems for me.
Well, that's
so I never differentiated. I said that it was he would cause problems.
Can you talk about how good of a scorer he is?
He's really good. He is really good. He's very, very good. ASU though, let's talk about that. Do you think that ASU is going to beat Arizona this year?
Maybe once. I could see it. There's definitely hand up. My bad. I came on the show really early after that Duke loss, and I might have overreacted a little bit.
No, you were right.
I think that they might be better than I thought.
Yes. But Arizona, though, you expect Arizona Duke. Let's get your preview here, Mr. Franklin. I know you're going to be watching. You can say that you won't, but you're going to be watching. How much are you picking Arizona to win by? I think that's the question.
What time is that game?
8:30. So the kid will be put asleep.
I'm going to be in Flagstaff with some buddies.
Oh, Flagstaff. Hey, you know what you might be able to find in Flagstaff if you go to the right timeshare? PHNX on Samsung TV. My parents saw this. I sent this. So anyways, long story short, Jacob Franklin, or my dad, who knows nothing, who's more technologically worse than I am. He goes and he's going in there and he's like, hey, look, Michael's on TV. I sent this to Jacob Franklin and he said that made his week. That made his month.
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, it really hurt me because I'm actively working to, make sure that doesn't happen according to
Yes, exactly. You're trying to bury us.
Yeah. Especially when I schedule Wildcat shows on the channel, it really just
right. Did you? Now, let me ask you this. Did you send that in Slack then? A little pat on the back?
I did send that in Slack.
Did you you didn't tag me though in it?
Well, no, I sent it to just my inner circle.
Oh. So I'm not, again, this is chicken and pickle 2.0. This is what this is. I thought. So give me your prediction though, Arizona Duke.
Cooper Flagg drops 35 and Duke wins by 20.
All right. Now, Arizona ASU, when they play twice this year, give us your prediction because you are going to be coming on before then. This is true, but we got to wrap the show.
I'm going to say they split.
Split.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Arizona against ASU, my friend. Where are you at with this one, my friend? Where are you at with this when it comes to football? I know that you're nervous about this one. Where?
Arizona ASU?
Yes.
I think ASU wins by a touchdown.
Let me ask you this. If Arizona won, but it ensured that Brent Brennan would be here for 5 more years, would you root for an Arizona victory?
Probably not.
I rooted for ASU.
Here's the thing. I'm confident that my coach doesn't matter who you have down there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
Hey, Mike, you want to put a wager on that game?
If you give me the point spread.
No, I mean, no. I'm just saying, I get Arizona State, you get Arizona. Whoever wins. No,
I'm not getting out of the no. I'm not looking to give you away money. Yeah. All right. No, Erica L. Day, the great Erica L. Day says, bye squad. Merc show at 1:30. It's very important you are all there. Merc, baby. Merc. All right. Now, Jacob Franklin, where can they find you on Twitter?
Jacob_Franklin 4, because I am the 4th best Jacob Franklin known to man.
And if you want to blame somebody for no show tomorrow, blame him. Blame him. All right. Now, yes, for sure. All right, Jacob Franklin, you are the man. We appreciate you no matter what I said about you earlier. I only meant some of it.
I know.
All right. For Jacob Franklin, I am merely Mike Luke, the prodigious Kevin Thomas behind the scenes in the background. We will be back with you Friday post-game show, Arizona Duke. Hopefully we are celebrating a victory. TTFN, ta-ta for now, AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.